a tiny mongoose vs. an enormous king cobra? Who would win in a fight? To answer this question, we will look at their size, weapons, fighting skills, and experience. But first, we need to establish how likely this matchup is in the wild. In the wild, it is very unlikely that a small Indian gray mongoose would go toe-to-toe with a king cobra. This is because they live in completely different habitats. King cobras are found in southern Asia and prefer to live in forests, fields, and near water sources. On the other hand, the small Indian gray mongoose prefers dry, open grasslands and however, if we were to put these two animals in an enclosed space, like a zoo enclosure or a large garden, then the outcome of the fight would depend on many factors. First of all, we have to take into account the size difference between the two species. The king cobra can grow up to 18 feet long and reach a maximum weight of over 7 pounds, whereas the small Indian gray mongoose is much smaller, growing up to only 3 feet long and weighing around 2 pounds. So when we compare their weights, we see a huge disparity between them. The king cobra is about 4 times heavier than the mongoose, which puts the mongoose at a disadvantage. Now let's compare their weapons. King cobras have very long fangs that they use to inject their venom into their prey. Their venom is extremely potent and can kill their prey within minutes. They also have strong, sharp teeth for crushing bones and tearing flesh. On the other hand, mongooses have shorter, sharper teeth and claws that they use to catch and tear apart their prey. They don't have any venom, but their saliva contains enzymes that help to break down the toxins of venomous snakes. This gives them an advantage against venomous snakes, but it won't do much against a snake that's not venomous. When it comes to speed and agility, mongooses are much faster and more agile than king cobras. They can dodge and weave through the forest with ease, leaping over obstacles and squeezing through narrow spaces. King cobras, on the other hand, are much slower and less agile. They move in a sidewinding motion, which is fast for them, but much slower than a mongoose. In short bursts, however, they could possibly outpace a mongoose, but not for long. If these two animals were to meet in the wild, the king cobra would most likely win the fight. It's just too big and powerful for the little mongoose to handle. However, mongooses have managed to kill other venomous snakes in the wild, including cobras, so it's not impossible for the small Indian gray mongoose to defeat a king cobra. Let us imagine that the fight takes place in a zoo, where there is no escape for the animals. The king cobra has nowhere to hide, and the mongoose is hungry and feeling brave. Can the mongoose beat the king cobra? Let's find out. The fight starts with the king cobra rearing up on its tail and striking at the mongoose with its fangs. The mongoose quickly dodges out of the way and lunges forward, biting the snake's tail. The king cobra flicks its tail, trying to get the mongoose off balance. It then strikes again, but the mongoose is ready for it and ducks under the strike. As the king cobra rears back to strike again, the mongoose leaps onto its head and begins biting and clawing at its eyes and nostrils. The king cobra thrashes around, trying to get the mongoose off its head, but the mongoose holds on tight. Eventually, the king cobra stops moving, and the mongoose has won the fight. So in this scenario, the mongoose was able to defeat the king cobra by targeting its head and using its agility to avoid being bitten. So in this scenario, the winner is the small Indian gray mongoose. But now let's change the scenario a bit. What if the king cobra was almost twice the size of the mongoose, say around 10 feet long? Would the mongoose still stand a chance? Or would the larger king cobra be able to overpower the smaller mongoose? If we change the scenario slightly and say that the king cobra is around twice the size of the mongoose, then the outcome of the fight may be different. The size disparity between the two animals is still significant, but the mongoose may have a better chance of winning the fight. Despite being smaller, the mongoose is still a fierce fighter and has taken down much larger prey in the wild. Its agility and speed will also be useful in this fight, allowing it to dodge the king cobra's attacks and strike when it's least expecting it. However, the king cobra is still a formidable opponent. Its venom is deadly and can kill the mongoose in a matter of minutes. If it manages to land a bite, the king cobra is also much stronger than the mongoose and can overpower it with ease if it gets close enough. So the outcome of this fight will depend on a few factors. If the mongoose is able to keep its distance and avoid the king cobra's venom, it may be able to win the fight. On the other hand, if the king cobra is able to get close enough to the mongoose and land a bite, it will most likely win the fight. In general, I would say that the mongoose has a slight advantage in this fight. Its agility and speed will be key to avoiding the king cobra's attacks, and its ferocity and determination will be important in taking down such a large opponent. However, the king cobra is still a dangerous opponent, and the mongoose will need to be at its best to win the fight. It is important to remember that both mongooses and king cobras are wild animals, and their behavior in the wild may differ from how they behave in captivity. In the wild, the mongoose may be able to use its knowledge of its surroundings to its advantage, whereas the king cobra may be able to ambush the mongoose and get the first strike. Ultimately, the outcome of a fight between a mongoose and a king cobra would depend on many factors, and it's impossible to say for sure who would win. So in this scenario, the winner is the king cobra. But what if we increase the size of the king cobra even further? Say the king cobra is now 15 feet long and weighs over 600 pounds. Would the mongoose still stand a chance? At this point, the size difference between the two animals is just too great for the mongoose to overcome. Even if the mongoose is a skilled fighter and has taken down much larger prey in the wild, it will be no match for a king cobra of this size. The king cobra's venom is deadly and can kill the mongoose in a matter of minutes if it lands a bite, and its sheer size and strength will make it impossible for the mongoose to hold on to its head and bite its eyes out as it did in the previous scenario. The mongoose will be lucky to survive the initial confrontation with the king cobra, and if it does, it will quickly find itself outmatched and outclassed. In short, there is no way a small Indian gray mongoose could defeat a king cobra of this size. The king cobra would win this fight with ease. So in this scenario, the winner is the king cobra. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching. See you next time. When you think of a snake, you may think of something that is cold, scaly, slimy, dangerous, and maybe even poisonous. And when you think of the largest venomous snake in the world, you may be thinking of the king cobra. It's long, it's large, and its bite can kill 10 men in less than an hour. But do you know what this huge snake fears most? You wouldn't believe it. Maybe you'd say it's a large animal, like a tiger or a human. Maybe it's a bird like an eagle that has enough power to crush a king cobra. But you'd be wrong. The king cobra is one of the most feared snakes around the world, and for good reason. They're responsible for more human deaths per year than any other snake, and they are also known for their unique ability to spit venom into the eyes of their prey before striking. But despite their terrifying reputation, the truth is that king cobras are actually very gentle creatures, who would never harm a human unless they felt threatened. And there's one creature that can bring them to their knees. Stay tuned to find out just how small and seemingly insignificant this creature really is. But first, let's take a look at some of the amazing facts about king cobras. The king cobra is the longest venomous snake in the world, reaching up to 18 feet in length. That's almost twice the size of a human. They live in South and Southeast Asia where they prey on other snakes. Their venom is extremely potent, containing a neurotoxin that can paralyze its victim. One bite from a king cobra can release up to 250 milligrams of venom, which is enough to kill 10 adult humans. Despite their size and power, king cobras are surprisingly agile and can move through the forest with ease. They use their long bodies to squeeze through narrow spaces, and their powerful muscles allow them to jump over obstacles. In fact, they are so strong that they can jump over obstacles that are nearly 2/3 the height of their body. Now that you know just how large and powerful the king cobra really is, it might seem impossible that anything could possibly scare them. But do you forget that size is you and everything? And there's a lot more to being afraid than just physical strength. So keep watching to see what tiny creature is capable of bringing the mighty king cobra to its knees. It was a beautiful day in the jungle. The sun was shining through the trees, and the birds were singing. Suddenly, a young boy named Ravi heard a scream in the forest. He didn't recognize the animal that had made the sound, but he was curious. So he followed the noise and came across a clearing. What he saw there shocked him. A large king cobra was slithering towards him, and it looked angry. Ravi froze in fear. He knew that if the snake bit him, he would be in serious trouble. But then he noticed something strange. The snake wasn't looking at him. It was staring at something behind him. As Ravi turned to look, he saw a small bird hopping towards the cobra. It was a black-crowned night heron, a rare species of heron that was known for its striking black head and bright red eyes. Ravi watched in suspense as the bird approached the snake. He knew that the heron was in danger, but he couldn't help but be impressed by its courage. The king cobra reared back its head and opened its mouth wide, ready to strike. But then the strangest thing happened. Instead of attacking the bird, the snake recoiled in fear and slithered away as fast as it could. Ravi was confused. He couldn't understand why the king cobra was so scared of the tiny bird. As the snake disappeared into the bushes, Ravi decided to follow it. He wanted to get a closer look at the bird and find out what had happened. As he followed the snake, he noticed that it was moving much faster than usual. It was almost as if it was trying to escape from something. Finally, the snake stopped and disappeared into a hole in the ground. Ravi decided to investigate and crawled into the hole. Inside, he found the answer to his question. The snake had been hiding its eggs. The black-crowned night heron had simply stumbled upon the nest, and the snake had reacted instinctively. Ravi realized that the snake wasn't trying to hurt the bird at all. It was only trying to protect its young. From that day on, Ravi became an advocate for snakes. He understood that they were evil creatures that people made them out to be, and that they were capable of showing kindness and compassion. After seeing the snake's protective instincts kick in, it was clear to me that this was no ordinary cobra. This was a mother. She had laid her eggs and was now protecting her nest from any predators that might try to get too close. But she wasn't just guarding her eggs, she was actually taking care of them in a way that we've never seen before in any other snake species. You see, king cobras typically lay their eggs and then leave them to fend for themselves. They don't stick around to guard the eggs or make sure that they hatch successfully. But this cobra was different. She wanted to make sure that her babies were safe and that they had the best chance of survival. But why does the king cobra act this way? Well, it all has to do with their unique ability to spit venom. You see, most snakes inject their venom into their prey using their fangs. But king cobras can actually spit it out of their mouths. This allows them to poison their prey from a distance without having to get too close. But it also means that they have to carry around a supply of venom in their bodies at all times. And that's not easy to do, especially when you're as big as a king cobra. Carrying around a bunch of extra weight makes it harder to move around, especially when you're trying to sneak up on your prey. It also takes a lot of energy to produce venom, and that means that the king cobra has to eat more often. But despite all these challenges, the king cobra is willing to do whatever it takes to protect its young. And it turns out that this behavior isn't unique to king cobras. Many animals will go to extreme lengths to protect their young, even if it puts them at risk. In the case of the king cobra, it's a risky strategy that pays off. By guarding their eggs, king cobras increase their chances of successfully hatching their young by up to 50%, and that's a pretty good success rate for such a dangerous endeavor. So the next time you see a king cobra, remember that it's not just a venomous snake, it's a mother doing whatever it can to protect her babies. After hearing this story, it's clear that the king cobra isn't as scary as it seems. Sure, it's a venomous snake, and it can spit venom into the eyes of its prey. But it's also a gentle creature who would never hurt a human unless it felt threatened. And it's a devoted mother who will go to any lengths to protect her young. In fact, after learning about the king cobra, it's hard to imagine anything being afraid of it. But there is one creature that can bring the mighty king cobra to its knees. And it's not what you think. It's not a bird, a tiger, or even a human. It's something much smaller, a tiny insect that's not even a match for the king cobra's venom. You see, the king cobra's venom is so potent that it can kill 10 adult humans in less than an hour. But there's one creature that's immune to its deadly effects: the common dung beetle. These beetles are known for their ability to roll dung into balls, and they are also known for their resistance to snake venom. That's right, the common dung beetle is the only known creature that's immune to the king cobra's venom. It's not clear why the dung beetle is immune to the venom, but it's thought that it has something to do with the beetle's exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is made up of a tough material called chitin, which is also found in the shells of insects like crabs and lobsters. Chitin is a very strong material, and it's possible that it's also a good conductor of electricity. Since snake venom works by disrupting the electrical signals in a victim's body, it is possible that the chitin in the dung beetle's exoskeleton blocks the venom from entering the beetle's body. Whatever the reason, the dung beetle is the only known creature that's immune to the king cobra's venom. And that means that the king cobra has no choice but to stay away from these little beetles. So, there you have it. The tiny dung beetle is the king cobra's worst nightmare. It's a small insect that's not even a match for the king cobra's venom. Yet it's the one creature that can bring the mighty king cobra to its knees. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more amazing animal videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.